welcome to Retirement Plan Options for Small Businesses. On behalf of our president, Ron Busby, our board, chambers, and our staff, thank you for attending. I'm Lisa Carter, program coordinator with the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., affectionately known as the National Voice of Black Businesses. We represent over 140 Black chambers of commerce and small businesses across the nation and are founded on 5 pillars of service: advocacy, access to capital, contracting, entrepreneurial training, and chamber development. This series was crafted in collaboration with our chambers of commerce, providing technical assistance and resources to businesses across the U.S. with the U.S. Small Business Administration's Community Navigator Pilot Program and our newest partner, the American Retirement Association. This organization is comprised of 5 premier retirement industry associations, and we're extremely thankful for your assistance in developing and sharing this program. If you're interested in exploring corporate partner member benefits, please contact our external relations manager, Jordan Slade. Today's session, we're introducing a certified plan fiduciary advisor who will crack the code on building wealth through retirement plan options, handsome tax strategies, and common practices to get started. After this presentation, you're more than welcome to address any questions. We'll try to get as many that come through the question and answer box, but we'll ask that you hold those to the end of the session. So without further ado, April M. Pope is a former Peace Corps volunteer and devout humanitarian who transforms confusing financial concepts into digestible knowledge for nonprofit and firm leaders. A certified financial planner, professional, and co-founder of Retirement Plan Partners, April, alongside her team of retirement plan specialists, displays their commitment to organization, leadership, and entrepreneurs by offering one-on-one coaching and informative workshops on workplace retirement plans. So we'd like to have you, April, if you can hear us, go ahead and start your share. I'll pause my share so you can share your PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, I will see if I am able. Yes, once that stops, I'll be able to share. But thanks for having me on. I'm glad to see some folks. It's different with webinar. I don't get to see the faces, but at least I see some names here. But excited to get started. As we said, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But as Lisa was saying, I am April Pope, certified financial planner, and a little bit of connection with the USBC. I'm actually a board member for our local African American Chamber of Commerce, and of course, a member of the ARA, American Retirement Association. So really looking forward to speaking with you today on a topic I really hold near and dear and is very serious and is truly affecting our community. So thank you to the USBC for hosting this and ARA for helping us get all the information together. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we're going to be talking about today. So really, we have 3 things on our agenda. I'm going to start with alerting everyone to the current state of retirement savings for Black and Latinx households. And we do have some other statistics, but this is where we're going to focus on. Then move into highlighting the benefits and tax savings available for starting a retirement plan. And then before we leave, we want to make sure we can help you differentiate between the 3 main plans that are available for business owners. There are other options, but we're just going to focus on the 3, I would say, most popular ones that we see when we're meeting with business owners. But before we get started, I wanted to just take a minute and just tell a little story about what kind of got me thinking differently about retirement planning in general, just as this concept. So right after I graduated from college, from undergrad, I packed 2 big old suitcases and boarded a plane and headed to South Africa. So I lived there for 2.5 years as a Peace Corps volunteer. And during this time, I lived with this lovely host family, barely spoke any English, and they taught me everything I needed to know just to survive in the village. So I'm living here, learning how to wash clothes by hand, how to cook on a fire, everything. I mean, just they had to teach me everything, you name it. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Cincinnati, so I had a lot to learn to be able to survive successfully in the village. And so they helped me do everything. And I think they love me. They even named me Lorato, which means love in Setswana. But if you can just imagine, I'm 22 years old, just gotten my economics degree, and turned down these jobs to work on Wall Street. I was a little out of place in this like remote village in the middle of South Africa with no running water. And we were like an hour from the nearest paved road. I remember the first week I was there, I asked my host sister, like, when does the trash man come? And she was like, what are you even talking about laughing me out of the village? So clearly I was clueless. But it was while I was here, I was living with my host mom, and that's who you see there. She was mid to late 60s in this photo, but she was a traditional healer, had her own business, managed the gardens, the kids, the chickens, the goats, everything, walked the kids to school. I mean, 1,000 other things. And my host sister and her family also lived in our yard, and they helped out with everything too. And it was kind of understood that Ma, when she became too old to continue working, the kids and grandkids and everyone in the yard and the village would step in and take care of her. So I was thinking about this, and I'm young, thinking I'm 22, man, that sounds pretty nice. And it dawned on me, like, these families didn't have to think about the conventional idea of retirement like we do here. There was no concept of like, work 30 years and get a gold watch and I don't know, go collect Social Security. Like, that just wasn't there. Or like, put a bunch of money away into some account so one day you can buy an RV and travel around the land. Like, nah, that's not really what it was about. It was really a way of living and working, raising children, helping out until you no longer could, which was usually 70s, 80s, even 90s. And then when you're unable to, your children, the community, and everyone else is going to take care of you. It was pretty straightforward and actually kind of relieving to think about it. But here in the States, most of us don't live in this type of situation. I would say majority of Americans don't live in multi-generational households with this built-in structure that would eliminate the need to save for retirement. So we have to plan. We have to put money away. We have to use these accounts that have all kinds of weird tax codes and things and figure this out on our own, because when work becomes optional, we have to have some money to be able to live on. Unfortunately, we might not be able to just be able, unless, I don't know, everybody has a different situation, but majority won't have the benefit of just having the village and everyone take care of them. So if we want to do that, my concern is we are very far behind as a community. And what I hear a lot of times folks say is they want to provide generational wealth. We want to break this cycle of starting over every single generation. Well, we need to do something about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We really need to get started on our issues of what we're doing right now. So if you see here, this is alarming. So this I came across last year. I was doing some research because I had to speak on this actual topic at our national convention out in Vegas. And I came across this alarming stat. It was 56% of Black families don't own any assets in a retirement account, 56%. So when I saw this, I was like, what is going on? Why is this? What's going on? I have to find out a little bit more. Is it because we're saving somewhere else, or we have all other kinds of investments, or I don't know, our money is under our pillow? Like, what's happening? Why do we not have money in retirement savings? So, or do we just not think it's important? I don't know. So I had to keep digging. I'm like, how can I get into this a little bit more? And I kept digging and asking questions and found some more research on this, which I thought is very interesting. So, and you can see the stat, and this stuff will go out if you want to look at the full reports of all of these, of the statistics and things. But when it comes to these Black American families, what we're doing is missing the mark on prioritizing ourselves. So if we look at this chart here, we're noble, it's great. We want to do these, we want to do things for everyone else. So we have, these are what the Black Americans for this survey are prioritizing. And it's really assisting others financially. So the number one important financial goal is providing college tuition for children. Then it comes to taking care of parents or family members. Okay, now we're talking about giving to charity, helping children with a down payment, leaving a large inheritance to family. It's everyone else. Like retirement or even saving for themselves didn't even make the top 5. So, okay, it's not that we're, maybe we're not just spending money and doing other things with it. There are things that we're giving to, but we need to think about taking care of ourselves first. And I have this conversation all the time, probably daily. There is no loan for retirement. So if you're going to get a student loan, great. We all had student loans. Most of us, we lived through it. But I talk with parents they're funding their college funds, make sure their kids will not have student loans and not taking advantage of maximizing their retirement savings. And so I always tell them, you can't go at 65 and say, hey, I want to retire. Let's get a loan for that and see how that works out. It's not going to work. You need to put some money away. Your kids can get student loans. We don't want them to. If we can do both, of course, do both, but we have to put ourselves first. So it shows that we're not doing that. That's one thing. And I don't want it to be dismal. We're going to come to some solutions, but I want you to see what's happening and why this is so crucial and why some of the new legislation is helping to close this gap. So now we looked at, okay, what are our savings rates? So I was thinking, well, like I said, maybe 56% of us don't have assets in retirement because we're saving somewhere else. All right, let's dig into that. That's not the case either. So when we look at this chart and what it's really showing us, and we have the dark green and the light green and the dark gray and the gray, let's just focus on one category here. And let's look at, these are Black households, working Americans with incomes over 60,000. So if we're looking at that second set of the second group, the bars here. So average assets in retirement, $54,000 for families making over 60,000, Black families making over $60,000 in the household. When we compare that to the general population, over 60,000, there's 276,000 in retirement. So let's go again, look at other savings or investments. If you're for Black households making over 60,000, we have $4,800, $4,838 in other savings or investments compared to 61,000. And then emergency savings, 9,000 versus 24,000. So we are behind the mark on saving. And this is where we really need to do something about this, because we have the resources and the assets. We have money. We just need to save it and pay ourselves first. So we definitely know that we need to do better. And even this same study showed that only 39% of those higher earning Black Americans said they're on track to have enough money to last through retirement. So again, let's talk about solutions. Don't want to be, negative here, but I want to see, why do we need to make a change here? And so this brings me to our first possible solution. Let's talk about solutions. So again, we have funds. We know we're spending money. We do have an economic impact. We're not saving in retirement. We're not saving for emergency funds. We're not saving in general assets. So what's the solution? I'm thinking, why aren't we saving in retirement? Well, maybe it's because we don't have access to a retirement plan. And so when we look at this data that we kept going on, it shows that 48% of Black families have access, only 48% have access to workplace retirement plans. And if anybody's listened to anything that the ARA or any of us are talking about, or retirement plan advisors, you'll know that in general, you're 12 times more likely to save for retirement if you have a workplace plan and it's easy. It's just going to come out of your check. So now let's see, what can we do? Maybe if we get more access to workplace retirement plans, maybe our numbers will go up and we'll start saving for retirement. And do we have minority-owned businesses that could help in this situation? Absolutely. So look at the impact that minority-owned businesses can have if we were able to offer retirement plans. So even here, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, this is the annual survey of entrepreneurs, there's over 1.1 million minority-owned businesses, and they're employing 8.7 million employees. And what we also know is a lot of, not all, but a lot of majority or minority-owned businesses are also employing many women and minorities. So if we're offering a workplace plan through these businesses, we can be a part of the solution. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is where we're with the USBC. We want to make sure if you're a business owner and you have the opportunity to start a plan, this is what we need to do. There it is. Here's your solution right now, right away. You literally can start a plan this year, this week. It's not a big thing. We'll talk about that in specifics in a little bit. But if you're a small business owner, go ahead and start a plan, and let's talk about that. And I'm also going to share some of the exciting news that we talked about with the new retirement policy bill, the Secure 2.0, that's helping with this. So this is super exciting. And on December 29th, right at the end, most people might not even have noticed, we're already celebrating and getting ready for the new year. But on December 29th, President Biden signed into law the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. And this included a package of retirement provisions called Secure 2.0. So these provisions continue the theme of the reforms that began with the 2019 Secure Act, focusing on getting more participants in the retirement system, finding ways for them to accumulate more assets, and then ensuring they get connected with those assets when it's time to retire. There is a lot. Anyone on here, and when we do Q&A later, there are a lot of provisions in this Secure 2.0. We're not going to go through those, and it's actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. But today, I'm just going to highlight a few of the main features that could help you as a business owner. So we're talking about starting a new plan. What are the benefits of starting a new plan? So I'll go right into the first one. I meet with business owners almost daily. Have yet to meet a business owner who is not looking for some help with their tax bill. So two of these provisions specifically are going to do just that and are literally giving out, it's almost like free money to start a retirement plan. So the first one, the new plan startup credit, it's a tax credit for the adoption of a new retirement plan. So if you don't have a retirement plan, never have offered one for your business, and you have less than 50 employees, it's going to last for 3 years, and it's going to cover 100% of your administrative costs up to $5,000. Direct tax credit up to $5,000. Literally giving you money back to start a plan. The second one that I think is really cool is the new plan employer contribution credit. So this is a tax credit that's going to offset a percentage of the contributions that you would need to make as an employer if you have a plan that deems that you make matching contributions. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, it goes up to $1,000 per employee, and it's phased down gradually over the years. But just know there's a full credit available for employers who have 50 or fewer employees, and it's phased out once you get over that between the 51 and 100 employees. But these are two very concrete reasons why, and dollars in your pocket, literally paying you to start a plan. These incentives are literally saying, we want to remove the burden of the cost and just get people to start saving for retirement. Some other benefits from Secure that 2.0 that are coming up in the near future that we're not going to spend too much time on, but just want to highlight. Student loan matching. This one, people have been talking about it, employees, employers, what this is going to be. I don't know if anybody on here has paid student loans and it's a nice chunk of your monthly bills. And so what was happening, you have these young workers that have these huge student loans, and they're paying them back. They're working for a great company that's going to match their 401k, and they don't have the funds to actually put money into the 401k because they're strapped by their student loans. So what this is going to do is allow the employer to say, I see you, great working employee, paying your diligent student loans back. We can still contribute on your behalf to your 401k. The amount that we're doing a match that you would have been putting the funds in, you're putting that toward your student loans. We can still match you and put that in your retirement account. That is huge. Also, an emergency savings account that's going to be attached to the 401k. And so what this is really helped is they're designed to do. A lot of times we are getting requests for loans from the 401k or early distributions. Even one of the employers that we work with, before we had switched their plan, the way their plan is set up, they didn't have loans or anything, and their employees were literally quitting, taking out funds for a small emergency, and then going back to work because they weren't able to access it. So if we had an emergency savings account, even if it's small, $2,000, something that is attached to your 401k, but you wouldn't have to access your retirement funds if something did happen that was a true emergency. Another thing that is super exciting is Roth options for employer contributions. So before now, all the employer contributions had to go into a pre-tax account or a pre-tax bucket. And now there's going to be an option for employers to put those funds into the Roth. And of course, Roth, really, that just means it's a different way that you're taxed. So traditional pre-tax, it goes in pre-tax, it grows tax deferred. And then when you hit retirement, you start taking those funds out, you're going to pay taxes at whatever tax rate there is in the future. Roth, you're not taking today's tax deduction, you put it in there, it's growing, and when it's time for you to take it out, you don't pay any taxes on it. And so if you have the feeling that taxes might increase in the future, a lot of people want to put money into this Roth because they want to say, hey, I'd rather pay taxes on money I know now. I don't need a big tax deduction. I'd rather know my funds for retirement in the future. I don't have to pay taxes on them. And then the starter 401k, this is going to be something that is, it's still working out the details, but it's something that's going to be an easy way for small businesses just to have a simplified starter plan, not a lot of filing and 5500s. It's going to be like a simple way to have a 401k that the government is going to offer. And so we're waiting for the details on that, but it is something, again, to remove those barriers for smaller plans or smaller businesses to start plans. So I know that was a lot. I'm going to keep going and then we'll get to questions at the end. So those are some of the key things, but when I'm still out here talking to business owners, these are some of the top myths we're going to bust that I see all the time. So the first one is, I hear I don't have enough employees, I can't do a plan, it's just me. I'm just, you know, a barbershop owner. I don't even have employees. Even if it's just you, even if you're just a realtor, even if you have one, two, three employees, you can still offer a plan. And it's not going to cost you that much to offer a plan. And you're going to get a tax credit for offering that plan to offset that. So we're just going to go ahead and say there are plans. There's literally plans called solo 401ks for one person. So not having enough employees, not an option to say why you're not going to have a plan. I can't afford to contribute to my employee's account. This is a legit concern. The thought is, wow, if I offer a 401k, I have to match and give everybody money, and I'm just getting my business started, and I don't know that I can do that. There are plans where you don't have to necessarily contribute to your employees, or you can put some language in your plan document so that they have to be here for a certain amount of time before they have access to the funds that you're going to give them. So working with your retirement plan specialist or your third party administrator, whoever it is, to design a plan, you need to make sure they know what your goals are so they can help you choose the right plan that fits your budget and your goals. So not being able to afford, there's other plans that you can do and that you wouldn't even have to contribute necessarily. So also they're too expensive to offer. We already talked about the tax credit. Even before that, there are some plans, maybe not full blown 401ks, but there are some plans that literally are like $10 a year to maintain once you start. Like too expensive to offer, that means you haven't looked in the right place. There's definitely easy ways to start plans. And then it sounds complicated. Again, I feel like, yes, this is legit. It does sound complicated. You're in the business of running a bakery or, like I said, real estate agent. Retirement planning is not your jam. That's okay. That's why there are people to help you with this, people to educate you, help you find the right plan that fits. And then also once you find that plan, you can actually hire people, and not as an employee, but you'll have people working on your behalf to do all parts of the plan. So just because it's complicated, you don't have to do all those complicated parts. There are people that are able to do those for you. So now I'm actually going to get into the last part, which is what kind of plan options are we talking about? I'm throwing out these ideas of starting a plan, they're inexpensive. Well, what are we talking about? So I'm just going to take the liberty to assume that everybody's all in and we're all ready to start retirement plans. So let's look at what options you have since we're ready to go. So there are many options, but we're only going to focus on three. So the three we're going to talk about today are SEPs, Simples, and 401ks. So these are the most common that we see. I would say, almost all the plans when we meet with small business owners, small to mid-sized business owners, this is usually where we land, one of these three. And let's look at what those differences are. So a SEP is really an IRA. It's a SEP IRA. It's something that you can start. And I would say this is just if it's you or your spouse that's running the business. If you have employees, it's not something you want to think about. But this is a low cost option. Your contributions are still going to be deductible as business expenses. Flexible contribution limits. You get to decide how much. It's not like you have to put a certain amount in each time. And then annual contributions aren't even required. This would be, think of someone who, like I said, maybe a realtor. It's a realtor and their spouse started this business. It's just the two of them. They want to put a little bit more than an IRA can get them. So this is going to allow them to have a little bit higher contribution than that, depending on their income. But whatever you put in, if you're putting in for one person, it's not the employee that's putting the funds in, it's the employer. So you got to put it in for everybody. So this is not something you do. This is a self-employment. This is just for somebody. It's just yourself or yourself and your spouse. So the second one I would say, which is more popular for smaller businesses, is called a simple IRA. Again, it's still an IRA. It's low cost as well. These are one of the ones that are $10, $20 a year to maintain, depending on who you use. But employees contribute to their own accounts. And as an employer, you do have to match in this plan. But that match is a tax deductible business expense, and it's a match. So meaning if your employees don't take advantage and they don't contribute, then you don't have to. But there's no complex IRS reporting on here. There's also no loans allowed, and new to, just because of the Secure Act, you can actually put Roth contributions in here and into the SEP before. That was not something that you could do before. But a simple IRA, think of someone, this is more like, I see these with maybe an accounting firm. That's a great example. There's an accounting firm, they have 5 or 6 employees, up to, you can have up to 100, but they have a smaller employee base. they're okay. They're like, I want to contribute to my employees. I'm fine with doing that. I really want to help incentivize them. But there's a limit on how much you can put in, and we'll actually show those limits here in a little bit. So this is kind of I would say a starter. If you're kind of dipping your toe in, you're not sure that you're ready for a full 401k. This doesn't have the reporting. It's less expensive to run. But you need to keep it for 2 years. That's one thing you need to think about if you're going to do a simple. It's not like, let me try it for a year and then move to a 401k. If you start one of these, you can at least keep it for a couple of years. So the one that we're going to talk about now is really the 401k. This is the main vehicle for retirement, but this is the most flexible. I would say this is for, you have multiple employees. Employees are going to be able to contribute. Employers are going to be able to contribute the match. And these are where we talked about any of these matching dollars, you're going to be able to help get a little bit of help with that tax credit, the second tax credit. But even still, they're also deductible business expenses. But this gives you the most flexible plan design. So maybe you want vesting schedules for some of your contributions. Maybe you want profit sharing and you want to add, I want to do this 6% every paycheck, but at the end of the year, I want to see, how did my business do? We did great. Let's throw some profit sharing in and give everybody else a little bit more funds. So this gives you all kinds of flexibility. You can have loans, you can do Roths. There's a lot of flexibility. So this one, the 401k, and most people are familiar with this. If you're a business owner from when you were an employee, this is probably the most popular retirement plan that you've probably been a part of as an employee. So as you're thinking, you just talked about 3 plans. I'm thinking, what's right for me? I don't know. There's a lot that goes into choosing a plan. And really, I feel like it's best to find a financial professional in your area or that that specializes in helping small businesses start their plans. But I'll just give you a quick summary that'll at least point you in the right direction as you're interviewing people to help you with this, or you're starting to Google, I don't know, however you want to research. Just think, a little summary. We talked about SEP, simple, solo. SEP, you don't have any employees. That's our 1-person, 2-person, or spouse. You want higher contribution limits than regular IRA, but your max contribution limit is going to be 20% of your income. That's for the SEP. So remember, I don't have any employees, just me and my spouse. That might be one for us. Simple IRA, I have less than 100 employees. I'm okay with contributing. I'm okay with I can only put 15.5 into the plan. So it's a smaller amount. And so you are going to have to match if you put that in to your employees, or at least you're going to have to contribute in some way. And the 401k might be right. If you have multiple employees, you want the maximum contribution amount, flexible plan design, you want loans, you want everything. You want to also maximize how much you can put in. So the contribution that you as an employee can put in for 2023 is 22.5, but you also can have profit sharing, which goes above and beyond that. So I'm going to pause here now. The process for starting a plan, this varies for everyone. I would say all advisors have a different process, but in general, you can start a retirement plan like it showed back there, up to your tax filing deadline for some of them. So some of you can still start a plan from last year if you haven't started one. Or you can still start one if you haven't done your taxes, but every advisor has their own process. But in general, what happens when you're ready to start, you find the retirement plan advisor that's going to help you. They kind of act as the quarterback for your plan. And then you guys get together, figure out what your goals are, what your budget is, because that is a concern. You want to make sure it's something that fits you. And once you decide this, typically the advisor goes out and gets a request for proposals, brings everything back, shows you, you decide what you want to do, and you move forward. Now, I know that's very general. Everybody has their own process, but that's just kind of the general plan of how that works. So now I am going to pause and see if we have questions. I don't know if you want to open up. Let me see. I do see a couple of questions. Let me grab the chat here. I know I talked a lot really fast, but I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time if there were questions that came in.
No, and I was going to say too, April, if you have a few more things you want to share, we can do that, or we can go right into questions I can address.
I'm happy to stop and ask and go with questions now. Yeah, absolutely. And I can just come on screen. Did you want to pull some questions up, or do you want me to just jump in the chat and check?
Sure. So, and I can come back here. So it looks like we have 4 questions that we can address. So we have the first question. It says, what are the legal requirements for sponsoring a plan? And I know we want to see if that's something we can address.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'll talk general. We may have Andy jump in, but there's different legal requirements depending on what type of plan you offer. So if they're the IRAs and the ones that we said, like the SEP and the simple IRA, any of those types of IRAs, you're not, as a plan sponsor, you're not really a fiduciary where you have specific requirements and legal right things that you have to do as a plan fiduciary. Now, when we move into qualified plans, the 401ks, the 403bs, when we look at those, there are requirements. If you are a plan sponsor, you are legally a fiduciary. And I mean, we do a full training on, there's a full training on what your specific legal requirements are, but in general, it's, you have to act in the best interest of your employees. So the way that your plan document, you have to make sure you get your plan document, because that is your legal document that is governing the plan. You want to make sure you're following that. So you have the responsibility to follow what is in the plan document. Examples are, you say that everybody will be vested after 3 years. And then people have been there 5 years and they've never gotten their match. That's going to be a problem. So you need to make sure you're following your plan document. You need to make sure your the contributions are being made in a timely manner. Matches are being made when they're supposed to. Eligibility, all of those things you have as a plan sponsor. And then it even goes into the types of investments. So another thing, and we're talking about the 401ks, this is why those are more a little more robust, and you definitely want to work with professionals on those. But you need to make sure that your investment lineup is diverse. So you, as the plan sponsor, are offering this retirement plan. You're saying, here, lovely employees, here's a retirement plan benefit. We're going to make it easy for you to contribute, or we'll take care of it through payroll, but we're going to give you a list of investments that you can choose from. So there are certain requirements of what those investments are. You don't want to just have a bunch of aggressive investments and there's nothing conservative, and you have people that are getting ready to retire and they don't have anywhere to put their money that should be in something a little more conservative. So you have to have thought and a process around the investments choices you're giving to your employees. I think those are two when we get it. And I don't know if Andy or anyone wants to jump on, as far as there's a lot of lawsuits that end up coming up for plan sponsors. And I feel like it's with documentation. Lately, it's been with not making sure you at least review your plan in a couple of years and looking at fees. Is there anything else that you guys want to add as far as legal requirements for sponsoring a 401k or a qualified plan?
I think you did a great job covering it. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Oh, so the next one, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So the next question, it says, how often should our company's retirement contribution plans be reassessed?
I wonder what they mean by that. How often should our company's retirement contribution plans be reassessed? I'm wondering if they're thinking about the actual contribution or the plan. I mean, I guess we could talk about both. So I'll take it as if the question is asking, we've started a retirement plan and we're contributing to our employees. How often should we look at that? So if you have a plan in place already, you should be looking, and we call that benchmarking, every 2 to 3 years at least, where you look at what you have, look at your expenses, you obviously you have to look at your plan every single year. But as far as going out, shopping it out, doing what we call benchmarking and making sure your fees are in line with industry averages, your investment returns are in line with industry averages, just to make sure your plan is you're offering the best plan for your employees. So you want to look into that, actually reviewing your full plan, if that's what the question was asked, every 2 to 3 years. If they're asking about how often should the company's actual contributions be reassessed. So I'll say if you're doing a matching contribution, I mean, if you start a contribution and you're saying, and there's different types, and we won't go into the specifics of that, but let's say your company is doing a 3% match and you start that needs to go through, like, there are certain time frames. You can't just stop it and say like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that anymore this month. I want to try something else this month. You have to continue if you start that with your plan document for the year. So I don't know if that's what that was asking, but if there was other clarifying questions, I can add something else.
Okay. So I don't see, I think they were asking along the lines of like your initial answer about the contribution plan itself, like how often it has to be reevaluated. Um, but I guess we can go into the next question. Looks like, how would I locate a contribution plan specialist?
Oh, okay. So, and I don't know if Erica or anybody else wants to jump on it. So there are plenty of advisors through the ARA, just as depending on where you are, I would say, um, just like anything, referrals. I don't know if there's like a list or a bank of them, but if you do know other people who have a retirement plan and it's going well, just that's usually where it starts, somebody that has a plan, who's your plan advisor? But if you're looking, I mean, LinkedIn is a great place to look, but what you're looking for is someone that specializes in retirement plans for small businesses. Usually your chamber might be able to offer some assistance there. And there are plenty, I mean, any advisor can offer a retirement plan. But when you're getting into to 401ks and qualified plans, you really do want to make sure you find a specialist. There's also, our industry is so confusing with designations, so that doesn't help, but there are some industry specific designations that show that they are a plan specialist. So I don't know if Andy or
Yeah, I can sort of, like, from what I've heard, the typical situation is, business has been in operation for a few years. They're pretty comfortable. They're making money. They have a relationship with an accountant that's been doing their taxes. Typically, the accountant knows the retirement plan specialist, and that's sort of where you get that referral. That's the sort of most common situation.
Yes, absolutely. I get a lot of referrals from CPAs. And so usually what happens, especially with these small businesses, and right now it's happening right now. Right when it's time to do taxes, they go taxes, and then they owe $20,000 again this year. And I get a call and it's like, this person, I've been telling them, this is the CPA calling and saying, I've been telling them every single time they need to get a retirement plan. They keep paying Uncle Sam $20,000, $30,000 this year. What can we do? And so that's where it comes into, like, you're going to pay money out. So would you rather put some of that in your retirement plan and lower your tax bill, or you just want to pay it all in taxes? And so traditionally, most people are not super into just paying all of their profits into taxes. And so it's the CPA who sees that bottom line and actually is able to do those numbers. And then they usually have someone that they can call and say, and my calls are usually, we need to open this plan. We need it in, 17 days. And it needs to be this specific amount. They need to put away $18,325.17. It's a CPA that's like, I've already figured out the numbers and exactly what they need to do. So yeah, CPA is definitely a good referral.
Okay, and great answer. And I think question 4 is along the lines of question 3 is, where should I start the process? And I know to your point, you stated having the advisor, but I guess what would be the next steps if they want to start, exploring their options?
Yeah, I would say education, just educating yourself on what those, like, even if you, and there's some good resources on helping you figure out which plan is right for you. I mean, and we just breezed through that, but there's resources where you can, like, just ask yourself these questions, almost like a little chart that'll say, do I want to contribute to my employees? Yes or no? And it'll kind of filter you down into the one that is probably going to best suit you. So I would say researching those and figuring out, the different benefits of those. And when you're trying to decide which one, I know I'll talk a little bit more about specifically how to start, but typically the conversation we have when we're meeting with business owners is, okay, what are your top goals? And not just business goals, but I ask them specifically, are you looking to start this plan to save yourself on taxes? Are you looking to start this plan to fund your retirement account to the max? You're just like, I have not contributed. I've been focusing on my business these past few years. Now I got to catch up. I need to throw in as much money as I can, as fast as I can, because I don't have anything saved. Or is it more of I'm looking to retain and also recruit employees, and I don't have a plan, and I'm getting to the final interviews and people are choosing other businesses over me because I wasn't able to offer a plan. So I want to offer something. So when you look at your goals of what those are, that'll kind of help you even figure out which plan is going to be right for you. And then starting them, the simples, those first two, the steps and the simples, those are literally like, I don't know. I mean, you can start them in the same day. Like you literally can start them in the same day. So like you figure out that's what you want to do. You reach out to an advisor or a trusted accountant, whatever it is, someone, you can actually just reach out. Those can be started in the same day. It's paperwork. If you have an EIN, you have a business banking account, you can start a plan. The 401ks, to start that process, it's a little bit more detailed because you're going to have multiple, well, I mean, it's good to have where you look at multiple options. So you want to look at different providers. And when you talk about 401k, typically there's more people involved. So you have the advisor, who's kind of like the center. You have the third-party administrator, if there is going to be one of those, what's called a TPA. They're kind of like the accountant for the plan, and they create the plan document. Then you have the record keeper, and those are the things we're familiar with, like Fidelity's, I don't know, Empower, whatever, Principal, whoever they are. That's where who you log into. You have that record keeper. So there's a lot of moving parts with the 401ks, which is we're trying to have some more simplified versions here. But the process is really figuring out who can help you through that so that they can help you figure out, do I need a TPA or do I not? Which record keeper should I use? And retirement plan specialists, because we work with all of them, we can pretty much know after we talk to the business owner, the size, how many employees, what type of contributions they're thinking. We'll be able to narrow that down pretty quickly because some of the record keepers have minimums, and some of them we know are better suited for small businesses, so we can bring in those. So that was a long-winded answer of where to start, but just start. Even if you start on Google and try to figure out what those three things are we talked about today.
Exceptional presentation on the significance of retirement plans, top 3 options for small firms and ways we can get started. USBC introduced by Black, the only Black certification program with a Black business directory, providing businesses that certify access to private and public procurement opportunities, highlights, and other benefits. This online program can help prepare you for the contracting space as a document preparation guide. Certify today by visiting US Black Chambers /certifications. Also join us for some of our upcoming events. This year is going to be jam-packed with our Power 50 Women's Luncheon taking place March 23rd. And that event is available through US Black Chambers .org website. You can find the exact dates and time for that event. We also have USBC's National Conference and School of Chamber Management taking place in July, and our Congressional Black Caucus Policy Breakfast in September. So definitely save the date and register to attend those phenomenal events that are taking place later this year. And for more events like this, we welcome you to regularly visit US Black Chambers chambers.org /webinars so that you can find out about more webinars like today's. Follow us on social at usblackchambers.org. And if today's session prompted additional questions and interests, feel free to send us an email at programs@usblackchambers.org so that we can address your additional concerns. But we definitely appreciate your attendance today, and we look forward to having you back for the next session. Thank you.